Why? I kept turning the key in the front door lock, but it wouldn't open. Desperate, I sighed deeply. Just then, the window on the second floor, above the entrance, opened with a creak. "It seems you are having trouble." The cold voice of my mother-in-law echoed. "The front door won't open." "Why is that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "It won't open because I changed the lock." My mother-in-law laughed out loud, and then, my father-in-law also peeked out from the window. "You should have realized by now. We don't want a presumptuous daughter-in-law like you." With those words from my father-in-law, I understood everything. "I see. So, you've locked me out." They had always ignored me, and it was clear that my in-laws disliked me. However, this is my house. There's no way I would allow them to kick me out. If that's what you think, I'll respond in kind. I am Angela Ford. Even now, in my late 30s, I lead a busy life driven by my career. Currently, I run a housekeeping service company and am somewhat known in the industry, though it took a lot of hard work to get here. After graduating from university, I worked as a regular company employee for a while. But gradually my desire to marry and have a family faded. One reason was the busyness at work. Every day I worked overtime until the last bus, and I hardly had any time for myself. Amidst this lifestyle, I began to seriously consider my future. I can't go on like this, I decided, and with a determined effort, I started my housekeeping service company. Initially, with little funding and no customers, it was tough. However, through persistent sales efforts and building trust, the requests gradually increased. Yet, managing the company was not smooth sailing. Managing staff, handling complaints, and acquiring new customers were constant challenges. Especially, dealing with sudden resignations and unreasonable demands from customers was mentally exhausting. However, I never let these difficulties beat me and kept moving forward. I met Dylan a few years ago. He worked in an advertising agency, and we met when he consulted on advertising for my company. Initially, we just talked about work. But gradually we started sharing personal stories and grew attracted to each other. It's rare to find someone I can talk to like this, I felt for the first time. Dylan had a busy life like me, but we never forgot to cherish our time together. Our hobbies matched, and on holidays, we enjoyed cooking together and watching movies, spending fulfilling time together. Then, a year and a half ago, we got married. I am 38 this year, and Dylan is 3 years younger, at 35. Since getting married, we have been living together in my house. Actually, a few years ago, I built this house. At the time, not considering marriage, I wanted a comfortable house to live in as a single person, and took out a substantial mortgage to build it. Dylan was delighted to live in such a lovely house. This made me very happy. Our newlywed life was going smoothly, and I had an environment where I could concentrate on my work. Dylan understood and supported my work. Sometimes when I came home tired, he had already prepared a meal and was waiting for me. However, our happy days did not last long. 6 months after getting married, my in-laws suddenly showed up at our house. It was the end of a still hot summer day. Mid-afternoon, the doorbell rang unexpectedly. "Yes, who is it?" I opened the door, and there stood several movers with big luggage. And behind them were my in-laws. "Come on, move aside. Can't you see we can't move the luggage?" my mother-in-law said grumpily. They barged into our house and the moving was quickly completed, as if they had planned it all along. "What's going on?" I asked Dylan. They have no money, so it can't be helped. My father's company went bankrupt, and he can't even pay the rent. Dylan's words left me speechless. But how did they find out this address? Dylan was also surprised. It seemed that my in-laws had followed Dylan home to get our address. They had intruded into our lives in an unbelievable way. Thus, our life of living together with my in-laws began. But it was the start of a nightmarish daily life. My in-laws did nothing but stay at our house and began interfering with our lives. My father-in-law lounged around watching TV all day. And my mother-in-law didn't help with the household chores at all. Instead, she started taking my belongings without permission. If you're not going to work, at least help with the housework. I was at my wit's end and asked my mother-in-law. However, she grimaced and complained. Housework is the daughter-in-law's job. I can't believe you're making an elderly person work like this. Yet, I continued to endure. My in-laws' attitude worsened. And incidents continued where my designer bags disappeared or my accessories were missing. When I confronted my mother-in-law, she calmly said, "I just borrowed them. Or maybe I should have sold them instead. I can't take it anymore." Just as I thought this, the incident occurred. That day, Dylan was on a business trip. And thinking of returning home alone where only my in-laws were, made my steps heavy. Huh? Why? When I arrived home and tried to open the front door, it wouldn't open no matter how much I tried turning the key. I was desperate and sighed deeply. Just then, the window on the second floor, above the front door, opened with a creak. "It seems you are having trouble." The cold voice of my mother-in-law echoed. "The front door won't open." "Why is that?" I asked, my voice trembling. "It won't open because I changed the lock." My mother-in-law laughed out loud. Moreover, my father-in-law also peeked out from the window. "You should have realized by now. We don't want a presumptuous daughter-in-law like you." With those words from my father-in-law, I understood everything. "I see. So, you've locked me out." They had always ignored me, and it was clear that my in-laws disliked me. However, this is my house. There's no way I would allow them to kick me out. If that's what you think, I'll respond in kind. I took out my smartphone and faced my in-laws. My mother-in-law sneered at the sight of me clutching my smartphone at the front door. "Dylan will remarry a younger woman. I'll find a young and useful wife who listens to me well. Are you planning to divorce us? Didn't you understand? It seems you've aged a lot in your mind as well." My mother-in-law's exaggerated laughter pierced my ears, while my father-in-law laughed loudly beside her. I was really angry. I clenched my teeth in anger and sent an email to Dylan. Then, still staring at my in-laws, I said pointedly, "If you tamper with my belongings, I will sue you for theft." No sooner had I spoken than my father-in-law threw something. "I don't need this crap, just take it." What fell at my feet was my clothes. I quickly picked them up. "If you do anything more to my belongings, I will sue you. Be prepared." As I said this, my mother-in-law frowned in displeasure and raised her voice. "Shut up. Just go away somewhere." Thinking it was becoming too much of a nuisance, I decided to leave the house with the clothes my father-in-law had thrown. Holding the luggage, I got into a taxi and headed to an office near my company. The office was a room in a condominium I personally use. A place where I sometimes stay when I work late. In fact, due to past experiences of my mother-in-law rummaging through my branded items, I had moved all precious items to this office. So even if they rummaged through the house now, there would hardly be any trouble. However, I cannot let them do as they please in my own house. I raised my voice as if to energize myself. Then, at that moment, Dylan called me. "Dylan, did you read my email?" "Yes, I did." "Are you okay, Angela?" Dylan's voice sounded worried. "Yes, for now. But it seems they plan to remarry you to someone else. Again with their nonsense. I'm also at my limit being manipulated by them." "That's right." I began to tell Dylan about what I had been thinking on my way to the office. "For now, I'm going to sell the house that the in-laws have taken over. And then, I plan to look for a new home." "Understood. I'll help too." Dylan's words made me feel supported. The battle with the in-laws had just begun, but I was determined not to lose. When I arrived at the office, I took a deep breath to calm down first. I placed my smartphone on the desk and calmed my heart before contacting Dylan again. "Hey, Dylan. We need to discuss what to do next." "That's right. First, we need to proceed with selling the house. It seems like they have no intention of leaving, so we'll have to force them out." Dylan's voice was calm, but anger was seeping through. "That's right. We have other measures, so don't worry," I answered confidently. In fact, I had a premonition that the in-laws might pull something. So I had made several preparations in advance. "What kind of measures are you thinking of?" Dylan asked, sounding interested. "First, I've contacted a real estate agent to arrange for the house to be sold quickly. Also, in case the in-laws resist, I've consulted a lawyer so we can handle it." I explained this while checking the documents stored in the office. "I see. As expected, Angela," Dylan said, sounding impressed. "Thank you. But that might not be enough. Your parents aren't the type to give up easily, so we need to think of more powerful measures." I began to formulate further plans. "That's true. Let me know if there's anything I can do," Dylan answered strongly. Afterward, I contacted the real estate agent to start the process of selling the house. Fortunately, Mr. Brown, a real estate agent I trust, agreed to take immediate action. Mr. Brown has the skills to advance the sale of the house quickly and efficiently. So he will contribute significantly to solving our problem. Furthermore, I consulted a lawyer to prepare for preventing the in-laws from causing legal problems. The lawyer provided advice on measures to take if the in-laws continue to occupy the house, and on bringing them to court if necessary. While proceeding with these preparations, I made a firm resolution in my heart. No matter what tactics the in-laws use, they must not destroy our lives. I will spare no effort to protect my home. I will definitely not lose. I swore to myself. The preparations to confront the in-laws were in place. Ready for the battle ahead, I steeled my resolve. The next day, Dylan and I, along with Mr. Brown, discussed concrete plans to advance the sale of the house. We timed it when the in-laws were not around to organize the house and prepare the necessary documents for the sale. Meanwhile, the in-laws, unaware of such plans, continued to behave as they pleased in the house. However, we were acting steadily and calmly. The collaboration with Dylan strengthened, and our bond deepened further. Facing the in-laws made us a stronger and more united couple. Thus, the real battle for our new life began in earnest. I will never give up. And I am determined to oppose the in-laws and reclaim our happiness. Shortly thereafter, I received a call from Mr. Brown. "Let's first organize the inside of the house and prepare for the sale." Following his instructions, we started cleaning up the house. The in-laws were away on a trip for 3 days and 2 nights. We organized our belongings and moved important documents and valuables to the office. This should work. Holding on to hope, we prepared for the next steps. The following day, we took photos necessary for the sale of the house and provided them to the real estate agent. Mr. Brown then created advertisements for the sale of the house based on these photos and started activities to find a buyer. During this time, we focused on finding a new home. We visited properties introduced by the real estate agent, trying to move as soon as possible. Dylan also made time between his work to look at properties with me. This place might be good, don't you think? When we looked at a certain property, Dylan suggested it. I liked that property too, so we immediately applied for it. When the in-laws returned, we had already signed the contract for the new home and were preparing to move. However, the in-laws seemed unaware of our plans and continued to behave as they pleased in the house. And finally, when the house was sold, the day came for us to move to our new home. We had informed the in-laws in advance that we were moving, but they showed no sign of being disturbed. "You probably think you'll come back anyway," my mother-in-law said grumpily, but I ignored her and continued working. Now, our new life begins. The move was complete, and when we arrived at our new home, I felt a deep sense of relief. Dylan seemed to feel the same, and we were truly looking forward to our life in the new home. However, the problem with the in-laws was not entirely resolved. There was a chance they would escalate their harassment now that they knew we had moved. I anticipated this and began to think about the next steps. Now, the real battle is about to begin. I told myself and decided to further prepare to counter the in-laws. First, I consulted a lawyer to strengthen our legal measures. The lawyer understood our situation and promised to respond quickly. If the in-laws harassed us at the new home, we were ready to take legal action immediately. Furthermore, we decided to increase our vigilance against the in-laws and always keep a watchful eye. We prepared contact methods and ways to gather evidence so we could respond immediately if anything happened. However, I always had a sense of caution in my heart. The anxiety of not knowing what the in-laws might do next never completely went away. Still, I renewed my determination not to lose. Several weeks passed since we started living in our new home. The exhaustion from moving finally began to heal, and Dylan and I gradually got used to life in the new environment. One day, I noticed something unusual about my body. I had been feeling nauseous since morning, and I was unusually sensitive to the smell of foods that normally wouldn't bother me. Could it be? I immediately suspected the cause. The next day, during a break at work, I visited an obstetrician and underwent a test. The results confirmed that I was pregnant. I'm pregnant? I was overwhelmed with surprise and joy. The doctor nodded with a gentle smile and handed me a mother-child health handbook. Congratulations. It's important not to overdo it from now on and to rest properly. At the doctor's words, I felt tears welling up. That night, I shared the news of the pregnancy with Dylan. I was preparing dinner when Dylan came home. "Hi, Dylan. I have something important to talk about." I greeted him with a smile. "What is it, being so formal?" Dylan looked at me curiously. "I'm pregnant. We're going to have a baby." I said that and showed Dylan the results. Dylan's face showed a mix of surprise and joy, and he hugged me. "Really? I'm so happy, Angela." "Thank you." I could hear his voice trembling. We hugged each other and were enveloped in happiness. From then on, we got busy preparing to welcome the baby. We decided to set up a room for the baby in our new home. As we selected furniture and gathered baby goods, our bond deepened even further. Dylan was considerate of my condition and actively helped with household chores and shopping. "Angela, don't overdo it. I'll take care of it." Every time he spoke kindly, I felt his love. On weekends, we enjoyed preparing for the baby by visiting stores for baby goods. The baby bed, toys, and cute clothes we picked out became special items for us. "This baby bed looks good, doesn't it?" Dylan pointed out a baby bed he found at a store. "Yes, it seems safe for the baby to sleep in." I agreed and decided to purchase it. Our lives began to revolve around the baby. As my pregnancy progressed, my condition changed. But Dylan supported me every step of the way. Thanks to his support, I could prepare for the baby's arrival with peace of mind. Meanwhile, I was still concerned about the in-laws. But the joy of the new life gradually alleviated that concern. The harassment from the in-laws continued. But we remained undisturbed and focused on our new life. One day, while walking with Dylan, we spontaneously started talking about the baby's name. "What should we name our baby?" Dylan asked with excitement. "Right, we haven't decided yet." I answered thoughtfully. "If it's a boy, how about Jack or Oscar?" I suggested with a smile. "That's nice. I'm all for it." Dylan agreed with a smile. Thus, we enjoyed dreaming about the future while thinking about the baby's name. The hope and joy that the new life brought made our bond even stronger. As my pregnancy advanced, I felt our relationship with Dylan deepening further. Grateful for his kindness and support, I focused on nurturing the new life. One day, Mr. Brown from the real estate office contacted me. "Miss Ford, someone is interested in buying the house. But your in-laws are still squatting there. We need to ask them out. What should we do?" I asked. Mr. Brown answered firmly. "We have no choice but to proceed with legal action. We can sue them for illegal occupancy, but let's try to persuade them to leave amicably first." I consulted with a lawyer and decided to send an eviction notice to the in-laws. The notice stated that we were prepared to take legal action and asked them to leave voluntarily to resolve the situation amicably. The day after the in-laws received the notice, I received an angry call from my mother-in-law. "What are you thinking doing this to us? I can't believe we're being treated this way." I tried to respond calmly. "Actually, that house is mine. You are not allowed to squat there any longer. Please leave." I answered firmly. "What are you talking about? You left on your own. This is our house now. What you are saying is absurd, you know. That house is in my name, purchased before our marriage. I allowed you to live there out of compassion. But I've decided to sell it, so please leave immediately." "What did you say?" My mother-in-law screamed in displeasure. And my father-in-law also seemed furious. However, we did not back down. With the support of the lawyer and real estate agent, we strengthened our measures against the in-laws. Several days later, Mr. Brown visited them and requested them to leave. Initially, the in-laws resisted, but overwhelmed by Mr. Brown's firm stance, they gradually began to show signs of resignation. "We have no choice," the mother-in-law muttered resentfully as she and the father-in-law left the house. "Finally, my house is coming back to me." I felt a deep sense of relief. Dylan seemed to feel the same. And we renewed our determination to move forward with our new life. We designed a room for the baby and a comfortable living space, dreaming of our new home. As Dylan and I selected furniture and interior decorations, our bond deepened even further. After the in-laws left the house, we were able to focus on our new life. Preparations to welcome the baby progressed smoothly, and our daily life gradually stabilized. Dylan also seemed satisfied with our new life, working hard for us in between his job commitments. I felt a renewed sense of gratitude towards him. As our life in the new house began to stabilize, we were able to look to the future with more optimism. Although we had settled the issues with the in-laws, our challenges continued. Together with Dylan, I resolved to continue working towards a happy future for our new family. One day, when Dylan came home from work, his expression was stern. "What's wrong?" I asked anxiously. There was a strange call at work. It was a silent call, but I could hear someone laughing in the background. Dylan explained, frowning. Could it be? I had a bad feeling. Dylan seemed to think the same and nodded deeply. Probably. I don't know what they are planning, but we have to be careful. We decided to increase our vigilance again, especially when I was alone at home. I made sure to check the door locks and was careful about my surroundings when going out. A few days later, I left the house to go to a regular checkup at the obstetrician. When I returned home, I noticed an unfamiliar car parked in front of the house. Who could it be? Anxiety crossed my mind. As I approached the front door, the in-laws were ringing the doorbell. Why are you here? I raised my voice in surprise and anger. We're in trouble because you forced us out, the mother-in-law shouted back. The father-in-law also showed his anger. We can't pay rent and we have nothing to eat. What are you going to do about it? That's your responsibility, I answered firmly. We have nothing to do with it anymore. This is my house, so please leave immediately. If you intend to stay, I'll call the police. This incident instilled in us an even greater sense of vigilance, feeling that the in-laws' retaliation could continue. I decided with Dylan to strengthen our measures, especially with the baby's safety in mind. We enhanced the security of our home and prepared to contact the police at any moment. One evening, as we relaxed in the living room of our new home, Dylan held my hand while watching TV. Don't worry, Angela. We will never lose. Yes, I think so too. I smiled and responded. No matter what difficulties come our way, we can overcome them as long as we are together. At that moment, the doorbell rang. We looked at each other and stood up to check who it was. Opening the door, there stood a man we didn't recognize. Are you Miss Ford? I'm Detective Thompson. Mr. Brown asked me to offer my assistance to you. The man handed over his business card and continued with a serious expression. I would like to do a little investigation concerning your in-laws. Though surprised, we decided to listen to what Mr. Thompson had to say. He offered to investigate the in-laws' activities to understand what plans they had against us. This won't be straightforward, Dylan muttered. Let's resolve the issue with the in-laws completely with Mr. Thompson's help. Yes. I nodded firmly. I'm ready to use any means necessary to protect our lives. Thus, we began to explore the in-laws' movements with Detective Thompson. The battle with them was not over yet, but we had a new ally. Determined to face any difficulties to protect our future, we renewed our resolve. Just as we thought the issues with the in-laws were settling down, another unsettling event occurred. As we were getting used to our new life, the in-laws started causing trouble at my company. It was a normal day, and I was handling tasks in the office when suddenly, the reception staff rushed in looking panicked. Miss Ford, there's trouble outside. Startled, I looked out the office window. There stood the in-laws, shouting loudly. "This company is full of scammers. There are bad people here." The mother-in-law's voice echoed. "Why?" I immediately understood. The in-laws knew about my company and were causing trouble. "Mr. Thompson, the in-laws are causing a scene. Please help," I asked hurriedly. "Understood. I'll handle it right away," Mr. Thompson responded calmly. How long would their harassment continue? Anger towards the in-laws grew inside me as anxiety and irritation mixed together. When Mr. Thompson arrived outside the office, he immediately confronted them. The in-laws continued to shout, their faces red with anger, but Mr. Thompson responded calmly. "Making a scene here won't solve anything, will it? Please leave." The mother-in-law became even more enraged, shouting, "What are you talking about? There are bad people here." The father-in-law also continued to yell. "This is hopeless." Mr. Thompson whispered to me, "Let's call the police." I agreed and contacted the police. A few minutes later, the police arrived and restrained the in-laws. No more disturbances will be tolerated. Thanks to the calm response of the police, the in-laws finally quieted down and left the scene. Back in the office, Mr. Thompson and I discussed the incident. "This is clearly harassment against you, Angela," Mr. Thompson said. "Indeed. But what should we do next?" I pondered. There is only so much we can do, but we can enhance our measures further. Mr. Thompson advised calmly. "First, let's strengthen the security of the office. Second, it's crucial to continue monitoring the in-laws' movements and anticipate their plans to address them preemptively." Following Mr. Thompson's advice, I immediately proceeded to enhance the security of the office. I also hired Mr. Thompson to monitor the in-laws' activities. His professional response enabled us to predict and preempt the in-laws' next moves. The harassment from the in-laws continued. But with Mr. Thompson's support, we addressed each issue one by one. No matter how persistent the in-laws were with their harassment, we were determined never to yield and to protect our new life. One day, Mr. Thompson reported to me, "The in-laws are currently in financial trouble and it's unpredictable what they will do next. However, we are ready to continue monitoring their activities and take necessary measures." "Thank you, Mr. Thompson," I responded with gratitude. "Without your support, we couldn't have made it this far. We are a team. Let's keep working together," Mr. Thompson replied with a smile. The harassment from the in-laws gradually escalated, and our life became unstable again. Their harassment affected our work and daily lives, leaving us exhausted. One day, as I was heading to the office, an unfamiliar man approached me. "You are Angela Ford, right?" he asked, looking at me with a cold gaze. "I need to talk to you." "Who are you?" I asked cautiously. "I was hired by your in-laws. They told me to use any means necessary to drive you out." His words sent chills down my spine. "How could you?" I responded, my voice trembling. "That's how it is. They are serious. They will chase you wherever you run." The man sneered and walked away. That evening, I discussed this incident with Dylan and explained how serious the in-laws' harassment had become. "I'm at my limit. Our life is being destroyed." Dylan was as exhausted as I was. "Angela, we can't let this go any further. We need to take some fundamental measures." We consulted with Mr. Thompson again and decided to take further action. Mr. Thompson listened to our story thoroughly and advised us calmly. How about sending the in-laws to a construction site in the countryside? Mr. Thompson suggested. By making them work as live-in laborers, we might be able to curb their harassment while giving ourselves time to rebuild our lives. Is that even possible? I asked, both surprised and interested. We can proceed legally. The work at the construction site is tough, but it might be a good experience for them. Mr. Thompson responded seriously. We agreed to Mr. Thompson's proposal and proceeded with the plan to send the in-laws to a construction site in the countryside. Mr. Thompson quickly made arrangements and prepared a formal contract for the in-laws. At first, the in-laws resisted, but due to Mr. Thompson's persuasion and legal pressure, they eventually agreed to go to the construction site. Now we can finally relax a bit. I sighed in relief. The in-laws faced a harsh work environment at the construction site. They struggled with the hard labor for the first time, and gradually lost the energy to continue their harassment. We could finally catch our breath. We began to move forward with our new life again. With the harassment from the in-laws subsiding, we could focus on preparing to welcome our baby. Our bond strengthened, and hope for the future was rekindled. One day, I received a report from Mr. Thompson. The in-laws are working hard at the construction site. There are no issues at the moment. Upon hearing his words, I finally felt a true sense of relief. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Because of you, we can start walking forward again. I thanked him with heartfelt gratitude. I am glad I could support you. Please contact me anytime if you need anything. Mr. Thompson replied with a smile. Now our life can finally stabilize, I said to Dylan with a smile. Dylan nodded, relieved. Yes, we really owe a lot to Mr. Thompson. Though the battle with the in-laws was over, we learned a lot from the experience. By facing difficulties and supporting each other, we deepened our bond and paved the way for the future. We were gradually regaining our peaceful days. And then the day finally arrived. I gave birth to a healthy boy, and a new life joined our family. Thank you so much, Angela. Dylan said, his eyes teary. Thanks to you and our child, we can become even stronger. Thank you, Dylan. I could only come this far because of your support, I answered with a smile. The addition of our new family member has made our bond even stronger. Overcoming the issues with the in-laws has been a significant lesson for us, empowering us to carve out our future. Let's build a happy home together with our child, Dylan said to me with a smile. Yes, our new life is beginning. I nodded in response, feeling hope and anticipation for our new life swelling in my chest. We began making plans for our new family. First, we started by preparing a room for the baby. Dylan and I together assembled the crib and adorned the room with lovely decorations, making it a safe and comfortable space for the baby. Let's spend many happy times in this room. I said this while holding our baby. Dylan nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, the issue with the in-laws was also heading towards resolution. With Mr. Thompson's help, we continued to ensure that the in-laws, who were working on the construction site, would not trouble us again. According to Mr. Thompson's reports, the in-laws were adapting to the life at the construction site and working sincerely. We dedicated ourselves to enjoying our new life with our baby. Delighted by our baby's daily growth, Dylan and I cherished every moment. The baby's first smile, the first words, all were special events for us. One night, while putting the baby to sleep, Dylan and I discussed our future. Let's continue to support each other and build a happy home, I said. Of course, Angela. There's a lot of happiness waiting for us ahead, Dylan replied tenderly, holding my hand and smiling. Months after the baby's birth, our life had become peaceful and fulfilling. With the in-laws issue resolved, we started making new plans for the future, including building a new home. Let's build our dream home, Dylan suggested one day. We had started our new life in this house. But as the baby grew, we felt the need for a larger home. Yes, let's build a house where all the family can live comfortably. I agreed to his proposal, and we began planning our new home. We consulted with architects and started designing the house. The living room would be large and bright, a gathering place for the whole family. We also made sure to include a spacious play area for the baby and rooms for future children. One day, Dylan came to me with a new idea. Angela, I'm thinking of making a garden in our yard. When the baby grows up, I want a place where we can play together. That's a wonderful idea. Let's create a place where the whole family can enjoy. I agreed, and we began planning the garden. We decided the garden would have a variety of colorful flowers and a space for children to play. We enjoyed doing garden work together on weekends, designing a garden that would deepen our family's bonds as our baby grew. This house will be a necessary place for our future, I said, looking at the blueprints and imagining our future life with a smile. Dylan felt the same, and we both looked forward to the completion of our new home. As the construction of the new house progressed, we enjoyed our daily lives, watching our baby grow and deepening our family bonds. When Dylan came home from work, he always lifted the baby into his arms and showed a happy smile. This scene was the happiest moment for me. One day, we visited the construction site of our house and were thrilled to see it nearing completion. It's almost completed, Dylan said reflectively. Yes, I can feel our dreams taking shape, I responded while looking around the house. As the completion of the house drew near, we prepared for our new life. We chose furniture and interiors, pouring our love into every corner of the house. When everything was ready, we moved into our new home. This is our new home. In our new living room, I said this while holding our baby in my arms. Let's continue to live happily together, I said. Of course, Angela. We've overcome so many difficulties together, let's keep going, Dylan replied. Dylan hugged me, celebrating the start of our new life together with our baby. As we began life in our new home, we truly felt every day was fulfilling. The time spent smiling together in the living room increased. Our new home became a safe and secure place for us, strengthening our family bonds even further. Having overcome the issues with the in-laws, we now move forward towards a new future without looking back. It's unlikely they will trouble us again. We can peacefully enjoy happy days with our family. As life in our new home settled down, our family ties grew even stronger. Our baby was growing up healthy, and we felt every day was filled with happiness and joy. We had overcome the troubles with the in-laws and regained our peaceful daily lives. One afternoon, while holding my son in the living room, I waited for Dylan's return. The soft sunlight streaming through the window brightened the room, and flowers bloomed splendidly in the garden. My son slept peacefully in my arms, and looking at his sleeping face warmed my heart. How was your day today? I murmured as if speaking to my son. Let's have dinner together when your dad comes home. Just then, I heard the door open. Hi, Angela. Dylan's voice sounded, and I turned around with a smile. Hi, Dylan. Dylan entered the living room and smiled gently upon seeing me and our son. How was today? Did anything interesting happen? Our son stood up on his own for the first time. I reported happily. I was really surprised. That's amazing, Dylan exclaimed as he lifted our son. He's growing up fast. We'll have to keep an eye on him more and more. We three started preparing dinner together. While cooking in the kitchen, we shared laughs and enjoyed our time together. Dylan helped with cooking, and our son watched with curiosity. These moments together as a family were the most precious to me. After dinner, we relaxed in the living room. Dylan played with our son while I watched them with a smile. This time of deepening family bonds was the ultimate comfort for me. Let's create many memories in this house, I said to Dylan. I want to spend happy times here until our son grows up. Of course, Angela. We've overcome so many challenges already. Let's keep going together, Dylan replied, holding my hand and smiling. Dylan hugged me gently, reaffirming our commitment to our new life. Our life in the new house was filled with hope and joy. And we vowed to continue supporting each other and building a happy family.